We are back again on Fiifi-Manfred on YouTube. I get a lot of questions. First of all, the question about if Chelsea and TODD, how long is the project going to be? People ask me these questions a lot of the times. Fifi, when is it going to take for Chelsea's project to mature? How are Chelsea fans supposed to wait for? How much are they supposed to wait for? What is their backstories that you think you can analyze to get us there for us to have a fair idea where Chelsea are going? Every time I get these questions, and you look at a team like Arsenal that sat out of the Champions League for almost 6 years, and you ask yourself, I thought Bolly, Clearlake, Baghdad Bali going to have enough time to give whoever the manager is time to stay at the helm for 6 years without Champions League football. Also, you go back and look at the history of Chelsea Football Club with Roman Abramovich and the likes, and you ask yourself, are Chelsea going to go back onto that tangent, that trajectory of running the club, or they're just going to stick and make sure that at the end of the day, they run the club the way that they want to do? Is the ambition going to be there? And that's exactly why we are here today. When is the Chelsea project ripen? I would tell you right after here. My name is Fiifi-Manfred. If you've not subscribed, do that now. And of course, turn on the notification button and do choose all. My name is Fiifi-Manfred. So, in the previous video, we did mention that a lot of the injured players are getting back. First of all, BOEHLY is very close to full recovery for Chelsea Football Club. There is also Noni Madueke bagging a lot of goals, 3 goals in the last 2 games. He has played for the English Young Lions over there, the English under 21 side. He has spoken extensively about how Ashley Cole has been very instrumental to him in the national team for the English boy. Of course, Armando Broja, who had a slight knock against Armenia, has returned to Cobham. There are pictures where he has trained fully with the team also. Funny enough, Romeo Lavia actually has made it known to everybody that he's actually not had an injury setback, that he's fit. And he said that a lot of journalists, a lot of bloggers would say anything just for clickbait and for people to go and then interact with their tweets and whatnot. So Romeo Lavia has returned to Chelsea Football Club. Axel Disasi trained fully today. Same for almost all the players. And I'm very much excited about Captain Reece James and Benoit Badiashile, because I think that Badia is a top centre-back. I think he's the calmest centre-back of the young centre-backs in the team. One of the best. If you look at somebody like Levi Cole, brilliant centre-back as well. Ball carrying ability, on the ball quality, everything that you need as a centre forward, he's that guy for you. I think that as a centre back, the only issue I have with Levi Cole is he's not an excellent carrier. I don't think he's not an excellent carrier of the ball. He just doesn't do it as often as I would expect him to do in recent times. He used to do it when he was in Huddersfield. Now, right after he left Huddersfield, came out to Chelsea, went on loan to Brighton and Hove Albion. I think it's something that Roberto De Zerbi actually has trained out of him, and he doesn't do those things as much as he would have to do. So, yeah, that's the way Benoit Badiashile, and then of course Levi Cole. But you see, so when Chelsea clearly bought Chelsea, those were the first questions. That Chelsea said, okay, it's a project, and of course it's a project. You buy players that are less than the ages of 25, some 21, 22, 19, 20, thereabout. Moise Caicedo around the age of 20, thereabout. Levi Cole, 20, thereabout. These are young guns. Mihailo Modric, young players. They lack experience. So it means that you have to be patient with them to get a job done. I think essentially Chelsea's project manager, the manager that was brought in to manage the project essentially, was Graham Potter. I think Graham has that temperament of being patient, and then somebody that could manage the young players, given the kind of structure that he built at Brighton and Hove Albion. So I think that the first step for Chelsea at the time was to have Graham Potter start it as the project manager. Once he starts it, then they see how it goes. But I think essentially it's the fan unrest and then the backlash that came off Graham Potter's not so good results, and rightly so. For every Chelsea fan, they are known, or they are used to winning games back to back to back to back to back. So if a Chelsea fan goes into a season and results are lackluster and they are patchy, there are times where they get the results, there are times they do not get a result, then you begin to ask yourself, how long are they going to wait? Essentially, for Graham Potter, he was even much more unlucky because the bigger deal is that while he wasn't getting the result, he seemed to be losing the dressing room because most of the players were leaking information out. Right? Again, in those reports, there's some of the things that people said that Graham Potter was too much of a nice guy. And they did not want a nice guy. They don't want somebody that acted like a Mr. Nice Guy. They wanted a proper manager, somebody that will put them in their place, somebody that will push them to understand that this is what you're supposed to do, that's what you're supposed to do, this is what you are not supposed to do as a player. So it was a big deal for Graham Potter. One of the things that I personally also saw from Graham Potter was the fact that he had little to no charisma. And I think that for a club like Chelsea, those top 6 clubs, that's still why, if you look at somebody like Ange Postecoglou for Tottenham Hotspur, physically he doesn't have the charisma. But then you hear him speak and realize that there's some aura in the things that he's saying. He's much more deeper than you see him as that calm, cool, collected person on the touchline. But Graham Potter didn't have that. Graham Potter did not command anything with the things that he said. He didn't command anything with how he looked on the touchline or how he walked or what's not. It's important. Body language is a huge part. Fans would feed off the coach's body language. I remember there was a picture where Graham Potter would put his hands in between his thighs, and a lot of rival fans would take it and throw Chelsea fans with him. So that's that he lacked some of these things as a manager for Chelsea Football Club, and that's exactly why his demise from the club was caused very early on, and people began to wonder, why is it that Graham Potter was let go? Yes, you were doing a project and what's not. So Graham Potter essentially was the main guy for the Chelsea project. But I think that quickly, especially when Chelsea got sporting directors, and then they didn't want to build a team from a manager's perspective. And I'll give you context to this. The first season when Baghdad, Bali, TODD, Clearly Capital did come on board at Chelsea, mind you, Thomas Tuchel was the manager. And look at the kind of players that Chelsea bought at the time. Chelsea brought in Kalidou Koulibaly and let Levi go on loan. With hindsight, you look at that decision like, that's actually dumb. But it's not so dumb because, you see, Thomas Tuchel is not the kind of manager that you want to buy small boys or young boys for him to take his time and win with them. No. Thomas is about is more result oriented. And he's probably the kind of managers that I call stabilizers. He comes into the team where there's a lot of maybe disjointness, and he comes to put everything together and gets you results. And given the run that he went on, you can understand why Chelsea fans were worried that he was being sacked or he was going to leave the club. But if you look at those players that he bought at the time, you ask yourself why. So one of the things I'm personally very, very much worried about is at the left back position, where Benjamin Chilwell and then Mark Cucurella play. Cucurella was bought for 60 million, but Chelsea had Harvey Vale and then Lewis Hall, and all of them could play in those positions. There was also Ian Matheson, who was also on loan at the time. So then why then do you buy a 60 million pound player? It is because at the time, Thomas Tuchel wanted players that had experience in the English Premier League, players that had seen it at the top before, and they could just slot into his team. He didn't have time to develop those things for them, because that is not who Thomas Tuchel is. You can't fault him. I think Thomas Tuchel is top 5 best managers in the world as it stands now. But there are some things that he's not that guy. Thomas doesn't really develop a young player to make him a star. He goes to pick those big boys and then reignites their passion for the game and gets them to win games. Of course, hinged on tactical flexibility and then total tactics of the game. So that's the thing. When Thomas Tuchel failed at the squad building, then Chelsea had to go to Graham Potter. Again, you look at the squad building and you look at some of the players that Chelsea did buy. You ask yourself, why were these players bought in the first place? But they need that experience to try and win from them. Kalidou Koulibaly was experienced in the Italian Serie A with Napoli. So coming to Chelsea was a good one for Chelsea. Chelsea felt, okay, fine, we could get somebody who's experienced and at the top for us. Same for Joao Felix. Felix is wonderful, nimble, fitted player and all of those things. But essentially, doesn't play to the strength of a lot of the teams. And Chelsea was inclusive. So these were some of the things. Now, Chelsea have moved from buying players for the manager that they've stopped, and they started building a proper project under Graham Potter, especially after the exit of Graham Potter, where sporting directors took over. Stewart and Wayne Stanley took over, and then they ran the affairs of the club, bought the players that were supposed to buy, went into negotiations, gave them short-term contracts, gave them monies that were performance enhancing, and says, okay, fine, we will wait to get to that. But the question, however, is that Chelsea have actually gotten a much more experienced manager in Mauricio Pochettino, who is not necessarily a project manager. So if you've listened to Mauricio Pochettino's pre and post-match press conference, a lot of the time he's saying he wants to win now, he wants to win now, he wants to win now. Because Mauricio Pochettino is more like a Thomas Tuchel in one regard, and that regard is the fact that he wants to win now. But it's the method or the process of winning that differs between Thomas Tuchel and the Mauricio Pochettino. Mauricio Pochettino wants to be patient and go through the process while he wins. Thomas doesn't want to give you any excuses. Get me the best players now who are in their prime. Let us win now. It's not about building anything from the scratch. So that's the difference. Now, that is where I draw the disparity between if Chelsea are going to give Mauricio Pochettino time. Now, the next set of games that Chelsea are going to play are very tricky games. They are make or break games for Chelsea Football Club. It's Mauricio Pochettino. In case he suffers or hits a roadblock, is he going to be given extra time after the season? How long is he going to stay on for there? Because really, Mauricio is not somebody that you want to do a project with. Most 5 years, Mauricio is supposed to be out of the door. And then you're looking at certain things that are important for the Argentine manager in that regard. So those are the intricacies. And if you ask me how long is the project going to be, I constantly tell Chelsea fans that this season, take your eyes off the top 4 and concentrate on the next season. Because Chelsea didn't even start the season well. A lot of injuries here and there, and you don't want to be in that regard. Now, next season, yes, if you are going to play in the Champions League, possibly that can come up, but it is not something that is guaranteed in that regard. It's not something that is guaranteed. You expect that they'll put in a lot of work, the players, I mean, and then be patient and go with the team. So it's a project that will take some time. I think that Mauricio Pochettino is the first catalyst to Chelsea getting there. I don't think he's going to be the manager to take Chelsea to the promised land, but he's going to start it. He's going to start it unabatedly, and then he will do something very huge for them. And I think that's exactly what he is doing for Chelsea Football Club. Yeah, all well too soon. We come to the end of another video. My name is Fiifi-Manfred. Thank you for joining me. Bye.